Hello everyone, this is Hearthstone Meta Hype. I am Ecor100 with my friend Venga Dragon. How's it going, Venga?
It is going great. I am glad to be here. I'm hyped up and ready to do another episode with Ecor, the man. You know how you do, brother. Let's go.
Okay, so this recent video is going to be inspired by Zeddy, okay? Zeddy came out with a video not too long ago where he talked about cards that are probably going to be buffed and or nerfed. Burf, kind of combined those two words there. That's my bad. And I thought it was really interesting because he said according to some of the developers on Twitter, they were trying not to nerf cards again. They wanted to buff weak cards because they didn't want to constantly nerf new cards because they just felt like that isn't healthy for the game. And the only card that they might nerf is Ticketus because his play rate is so high, and they said at some other point if the play rate went to about 10 to 15%, they might nerf him. So I thought that was all very interesting. And I'm sure you have a list of stuff that you want to see buffed as well. Maybe our lists will overlap. And I'm just going to jump into my first thing, which is Rancor in Control Warrior. Just like Control Warrior in general, but the card I would like to see buffed is Rancor, because right now it is a 4 mana do 2 damage to everything, and for every minion killed, you gain 2 armor. But my problem with that is that by the time it gets to turn 4, 2 damage isn't going to do that much. And there are some cool combos, like you could use Bear off first, set everything's health to 1, and then wipe the board and gain a ton of armor. Like, it can be helpful. But how many times can you play against like a face hunter and get blown out before even turn 4 happens, right? Or the minions have a little bit of more HP than 2 mana. Because right now, if you just think about face hunter, there are several minions that have more than 2 HP. Like, let's just think about we have Mancrick, we have any 2 health minion originally that you then buff with Adorable Infestation. You have the 2/3 that spawns 1/1s. I forget what its name is. You have the Knife Vendor, which is also a 4-drop and you can play on turn 4. The 3/4 that draws you a beast from your deck. All of these cards have more than 2 HP and can be quite problematic to deal with as a hunter if all you can do is 2 damage to everything. So my thought process is either A, well, there are 3 ways you can buff this card. 1, increase the damage to 3. 2, lower the mana from 4 to 3. Or 3, keep the damage the same, but get 3 armor for every minion killed instead of 2, so it's a little bit more rewarding when you actually kill stuff off. What are your thoughts?
Right. Yeah, I think they're right. This card definitely looks a little bit weak on the side, and this is a warrior card, right? So
yeah,
you're getting that armor. I think that the intended combo here is definitely to use it for like a later game effect, because this card here at 4 mana, and 2 damage, you're just never using it, like you said, in the early part of the game, and especially like if you're up even against like the only thing that really could stop it looks like there's this like half-hearted effort against fighting against Zoo and like also against a very aggressive decks. It's like, you see what I'm saying? Like Hearthstone was going in a certain direction, and it was like, yeah, like we got to get rid of Zoolock. We got to get rid of these hunter decks that are really super aggressive, like Face Hunter and stuff. What we'll do is we'll invent a card that's in Warrior and make it seem fair. Fair card. You get 2, like it'll work great against it. It's an ultimate aggro defense card for not this expansion, but for last expansion. Like this card would have been great in last expansion.
They just
yeah. But at 4 mana and 2 damage and gain 2 armor, it's just almost unplayable to a certain degree unless you combo it with Lord Barrow on turn 7. Right?
On turn 7, yeah. By the time you get to turn 7 against like any aggro deck, you're already dead anyway. There have been so many times where I'm like, if I can make it to turn 7, I'm gonna gain like 12 armor and wipe the board. But that was not the case.
And you're sitting there with the card in hand for if you like, oh god, it must be a terrible win rate if you draw this card or it appears in your opening hand. It's got to be really bad. It's a virtually dead card until it could be. It's like dead until it could tie.
And in some matchups like Priest, it's just like dead entirely.
Yeah, so the whole game. Yeah.
I don't know.
Unusable.
There are 2 other things I want to see buffed in Control Warrior, though. That's just one of them, and that's specifically to help against aggro. But the next one is Shield Maiden. It's a 6 mana 5/5 battlecry, gain 5 armor. And again, one of 3 things needs to happen. 1, instead of being a 6 mana 5/5, make it a 6 mana 6/6 with this ability. But the one I like more is lower the cost to 5, and even make it like a 5 mana 4/5 or something, but make it a little bit faster, because again, coming out at 6 6 mana into most aggressive decks will probably be too late. Or have it stay at 6 mana, but have the armor you gain be like 8 or something. Just something else to gain more armor, because it's weird playing a control warrior with like 2 cards that generate you armor. It's literally like Shield Maiden, Rancor, and I guess Sword and Board, which is a deal 2 damage, gain 2 armor, which is a good card, by the way.
Yes.
But other than that, there really is no way of like actually tanking up as a warrior should do. And I feel like if they have those cards, they should just be better.
Yeah. Well, this card here, Shield Maiden, I've seen it played rarely, and it is a rare card as well too. It's
free.
It's free and it's rare. It's just not played because like you hit the nail on the head. It's a 6 mana 5/5. It gives you 5 armor. If you look at some really good cards, like one of the dragons from a set from last expansion from the dragons set, it was a 5/5/5, and it drew you a card. Big ol' whelp,
which is even better than like 5 armor, arguably.
Yeah, because it just why not?
And it was only 5 mana, yeah. Why not a 5 mana 5/5 and have warrior have one efficient defensive option?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And considering that you have for example, also this card it's like it doesn't really work that well against even if you're playing say Demon Hunters and something like that, and they put down the 5/7, that it's just could be taken out. It's it's so easily played around because when it drops down on turn 6, you should technically have the ability to remove it or whatever. It just seems it's so slow. It's slow, but the concept
you're right.
is
The
good.
Demon Hunter, it's not a Demon Hunter specific card. It's neutral, but there's a 4 mana 5/7 that's running Death Rattle Demon Hunter,
right?
And they get a 5/7 out 2 turns before you're even able to play this Shield Maiden to contest the board. You're taking 10 damage before you even get a decent minion out there. And yes, the 5/7 does damage to yourself, the player of it, because that's the downside of playing the card. But if you're able to hit twice for 5 damage, it's definitely worth it. I don't know.
Of course, yeah, and also too, you can essentially, this card just drops down and you could clear it. And whereas that card is just really hard to clear. This is definitely for the most part only going to give you 5 armor. It just doesn't seem like it'll survive on turn 6 or 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you're getting this card down, you're probably already winning.
Yeah.
There
are very few situations where this will be good, but in the positions it's good, you're already in a good spot.
Yeah, you're already
imagine
there.
your whole turn 6 play against a face hunter or a no minion mage that just played 13 mana in value for 5 mana and drew 4 cards. And then you're okay, my turn, 6 mana 5/5, gain 5 armor. Pass, there you go, your turn. It's the difference in strength with some of these decks and some of these cards are ridiculous to me.
Yeah, so just one last thing on it. It's either this card really sucks or you're already winning.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
What's the next one?
Next one, just a quick little one last thing for Control Warrior. I think that getting rid of Shield to block was a bad idea. The 3 mana gain 5 armor, draw a card. It's just such a nice way to cycle through. And right now, Warrior has 1 draw card, really. Outrider's Axe. And I guess they also have Corsair Cache and Stage Dive, but those are a little bit more niche. But I think Shield block to gain 5 armor early game and draw a card would have just been so helpful against all these all of these hunters and paladins. But obviously they took it out because it was so strong and running every warrior deck. I kind of get it. But yeah, that was basically it for that. The next deck I want to talk about though is one that I was excited for coming in. And maybe it's because it's kind of similar to my name, and it was Elemental Shaman. I feel like because my name is now E-Core 100 because Elemental Core was too long, but I used to try to play some Elemental decks and played Elemental Shaman way back when. And yeah, it's kind of not great right now. It makes me feel a little bit bad. I wish that it was better, and I don't necessarily know exactly where I would buff this deck. I just feel like a lot of these elementals, although their abilities are pretty strong, need slightly better stats or a slightly better ability because their abilities are some of their abilities are situational.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Looking at the deck, because I look at the deck and I have my own build that I had a week ago, and looking at it, I'm like, this deck should be good or at least decent, but whenever I played it, it just gets a little bit outpaced. And
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think maybe it's because other decks are just that strong. Like Face Hunter will just run you down too fast. Paladin is just probably the most efficient class in the game. And then Warrior right now is coming up, and it has a lot of buffed minions that's really good at fighting for the board. And all of those things just beat Elemental Shaman. Like Elemental Shaman can get that good value and sometimes beat like more mid-rangey decks, I guess, kind of. But I don't know. It's just, it feels a little bit weak.
Yeah, I was going to say that before the nerfs game, the day of, I was it's fun to like make content, of course, and you know that we have my channel as well, and we both make stuff. And what I did is I did a video which was the best decks after the nerfs, like what I was predicting. And I did put down Elemental Shaman as one of them because I felt that the deck was very balanced. It just seems like it has it just kind of has what you need. And it's really cool because of the synergies. There's certain cards in the deck that work really well. And those cards, right? They just kind of just
go. It looks like it
go.
would be so fun and so fluid. And it has like more synergy with itself than most other decks that I've seen. Like most other decks kind of just work together. Like Control Warrior, okay, gain armor, control board. But like this deck literally has like elemental synergy with situational effects and effects that help with that. I don't know. I have an idea on how you would buff this deck, but I want to hear yours.
Tell me yours first, because I'm just looking at my, well, I'll have the deck code in front of me right now. I think that there's one card that I thought was going to be really good, and that was the Lily Paddler, I think, which is
5 mana, 4/5 battle cry. If you played an elemental last turn, transform an enemy into a 0/1 frog with taunt. It's basically Hex with a 4/5 body for 5 mana.
Yeah, I was really excited about that card. Yeah, I thought that would be. It was. So I was kind of more like the deck though. Like Shama was going into a little bit more control, and I think this deck is a little bit more smorky, and I was kind of surprised about that. The other thing too is the version that I was thinking about ran the watch posts in it, and
but those are just nerfed. So I'm trying to look at a build that like doesn't run them to maybe like give myself a little bit of extra like flexibility into certain matchups. And I mean it's not the worst, but it's not great either. Like I definitely think there are some worse decks, but it's not isn't good.
I wish there was more cards in that deck that were something like Menacing Nimbus, where you can draw a random, or it creates a random elemental. You know, something that just puts more stuff that puts elementals in your hands that could possibly be good.
Yeah, like that's exactly what I was gonna say. That was actually my buff idea, but maybe not necessarily randomly generate, but like draw. Like there are multiple cards that say like draw a rush minion or draw a weapon, or in the past like draw a pirate. I feel like there should be, even if it's like a 3 mana draw 2 elementals and like, or draw 2 minions, if they're both elementals, do this thing like free admission, like something to because that's what probably my biggest issue with Elemental Shaman. It feels a little bit weak, but not like incredibly weak, but it doesn't have a way to like refill your hand if you start running out of steam. And I feel like there needs to be one more card to give you some draw, and that'll be something that I could replace one of the watch posts with, or even if it's just a 2 mana draw an elemental, give it +2/+2, like Scavenger's Ingenuity, something like that, or like draw a card, but this card counts as playing an elemental this turn, so you can activate an elemental ability the following turn. Like elemental spells, I guess, would make sense in my opinion.
Like even, or it's like this would be kind of weird, right? It would be like it's never before done mechanic, but like change all your 2-cost cards into elementals or something, you know what I mean? And like so you could like play some beasts or whatever, like cards
give them the tribe of elemental.
Like,
you know, the card would stay the same card, right? Like if you have a but it would like become an elemental,
right? Exactly. Like,
that would be interesting, so that way you could get elemental synergy without that would not be that bad. But the only thing I have with that is most of the cards you're running in this elemental deck are already elementals, and you could I guess increase flexibility by being able to run other cards, but I don't know, I feel like that one would be kind of weird, but I don't know, it could be interesting for like the future of Elemental Shaman.
Like I mean, I just like you know, it's so funny, I'm looking at the deck and I'm like saying, you know, it's like why isn't this deck good? There's just, you ever like you have to like go through like the meta and you're like doing stuff and you realize like you always see in certain decks, like you make a good deck, right? And this is one that I kind of put together and I was like, this should be good. But you feel like you're always one card short. If I had just one card, maybe there's like, it could be the difference between maybe 1 to 3 cards that if you could just figure out a slot for them or whatever, or something. It's like 1 to 3 cards away from being a really good though, like like a very fair deck, like 50% against many of the classes, maybe a 48% against like rogue or something, or 48.5%, and then like 56% against a few classes, and just like really super balanced, that if you just grind it out and play it right and like really master the mulligans and like learn how to play the deck well, that you could like you could just make it something viable, and just the way it is now, like, and I'm going to look at this one more, because me too, I've really been a fan of the elementals, and I think it's because you and I both started around the same time, or both enjoyed the same expansion very much.
Yeah, Ungoro was when that started. Like that started
which was
happening.
The Ungoro. Yep, we like the Ungoro thing. So
I mean, they did buff a couple of things, like Fire Elemental now does 4 damage instead of 3. Like that was a nice quality of life thing. But I don't think that it's enough to make up for the fact that this deck has no draw, runs out of steam. I feel like if Elemental's abilities activated and it said if you played, if you played an Elemental or cast a nature spell last turn, because Elemental and nature makes sense to go together. So like if you did one of those 2 things, their abilities activate. So it's just less situational, because there have been times where my turn is play a spell to help me control the board and didn't really have a minion to play that turn. Yeah. But then I lost my Elemental synergy and now I'm doomed. Like, I don't know.
Speaking about buffs, how about 7 mana Al-Akir the Windlord?
I don't think that would help that much. Like, yes, he's your late game win condition, but I feel like he has more issues, or there are more issues with this deck than the closer. I feel like the draw or slightly better statted or better like effect minions are needed, because like most of the time I'm not even getting to Al-Akir. Like,
it's funny. This deck excites me actually.
I want this deck to be good. I feel like it would be one of my favorite decks.
Yeah.
Also, Shaman just sucks right now. I kind of want to just play a Shaman deck, because people are asking me like, Ecor, when are you gonna play Shaman? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of grinding ranks right now.
When do you want me to go 0-8, 0-12?
Yeah, I'm kind of doing well recently. I've kind of climbed from 5,000 legend to 1,000 in the past 3 days. I've been killing it. Kind of don't want to stop that streak by playing a really bad deck, and I hate feeling that way, but that's just the way that it is.
Let me tell you that I'm a crowd pleaser. I always try to play the decks that they want me to play, and that's why I'm not at rank 1,000. That's all I have to say. Wheel of Doom. That's all I gotta say for my stream is I put the Wheel of Doom up. I spin the wheel and play whatever comes up. It includes like something like Classic Warrior in there, and you're trying to push a legend with a Classic Warrior deck in your arsenal. It's kind of difficult, but I think people just like to see me suffer. So
true. Like, I feel like that's the way too. People say that like I'm most entertaining when I'm tilted and or mad and or losing. Yeah. I'm like, that's so crappy. I mean, I'll give you guys the entertainment, but that's so mean.
Yeah. Here's a deck card, a deck code manga. I loaded in. The guy's got all 7 and 8 mana minions in there. Yeah. I have nothing to play. I'm sitting there pass until I get in turn 7. I finally play something and it's like it's game over. There's no spells. It's just everything's big. Everything's in neutral. All right. So anyway, what other buffs do you have? Anything else?
1 or 2 other things. The first one is Mill Warlock. This was another deck I was extremely excited for. Because I was like, this is such an interesting way to play Warlock, and it would be a way to play Ticketus, but you wouldn't necessarily always play it to burn your opponent's cards. It would be to burn your cards so you could get to like Niru faster. But I feel like the biggest buff that needs to happen to this deck is one of 2 things. 1, in the mini set that eventually comes out, there needs to be a new win condition for burning your deck. I think that there needs to be a more powerful thing. Or 2, buff Niru so that way when you run out of cards, they're more powerful. Like make them 3/3 demons so that way they're harder to remove. Or allow Niru's effect to activate when you have 5 cards left in your deck instead of 0. Because he's a 5 mana 5/5 that has a portal. Have his ability activate when you have 5 cards left, so that way you don't have to play him when you're already taking a ton of damage and fatigue. Because that's my biggest problem. Like, I'll be able to burn my deck, control pretty well, get kind of low on HP, but stay alive because that's just what Warlocks do. And then I die like 4 turns later because of fatigue, and I'm taking like 10 damage over those 4 turns. Like, that's not sustainable. But if I could activate this ability 3 to 5 turns sooner, like if your deck has 3 cards or 5 cards left. Because like the other cards, like the Bloodshard Bristleback, it says if your deck contains 10 or fewer cards, deals 6 damage. I'm not saying it has to have 10 or fewer. I think having 10 cards would be too broken. But like even if it was just 3 and it bought me 3 more turns to not take a ton of damage, or 5, I guess was my choice, it would be better, but still be a more late game focused deck. So it could still be rushed down. Like Face Hunter would still beat it, but like into a matchup like Priest, they couldn't just wipe your board 2 or 3 times, heal up a ton, and then slowly watch you die. Like that's my biggest issue. That's all I would change. Everything else about it I think is pretty good. I think it has good burn synergy. It's got good removal, got some decent sustain. You can tech in some other cards for like silence and stuff if you need it. Overall, I think it just needs a little bit of a better late game. And that's basically it.
I think the buff to Niru Fireblade could be also something like it get really creative for you. It's like, you know, like just put it in your deck and like if you have less than X amount of cards, it would be also lower its mana cost. You didn't say that, right? It would just lower its mana cost. No, I don't think that would be that good though, because you're gonna play it the turn you run out of cards anyway. It doesn't matter what the mana cost is. Like, yeah, but the thing is that you can, you know, you might be able to, I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
I guess if you make him like 1 mana, if your deck is empty or something, then you could play like him and Jiraxis on the same turn, or like Twisting Nether and then Niru, like wipe the board, then play Niru, which could be really good, to be fair.
That's what I was thinking.
I feel like it would be a little bit more situational, but it definitely would be an improvement. Just something else to make Niru better, make him have a better effect, make him cheaper if your deck is empty. Would actually not be that bad. Make the demons themselves slightly stronger. I don't know, something along those lines. But it just, I feel like I lose too much with this deck.
How about
it's fun?
How about fill your board with 3/2 imps, all with lifesteal?
See, okay, that's broken. Somebody said that should be how it should be it should be buffed.
No,
and I was like, no, you'll never die. Like that's just way too strong.
Yeah.
Maybe like give 1 lifesteal. I don't know. Like fill your board with 3/2 imps, one of which has lifesteal. Like maybe a random one has lifesteal. Like that'll be interesting, I guess. But I don't know. I don't feel like that would be good. I just think he needs to be a little bit stronger. Like you need to be rewarded a little bit more for burning your entire deck than like some 3/2 imps every turn.
Yeah. Well, according to your channel, this is the best deck that you've ever played. That's what I saw.
I didn't say it was the best. I said it was the most fun, and I stand by that. It's super duper fun. It's fun to burn your own deck. Like it feels bad when Ticketus burns your cards, and you're like, oh my goodness, like I didn't want to lose that. But when you're burning your own cards, and you're like, oh, I'm getting close to that win condition. Like something else about that just feels better to me.
Yeah, he changed his thumbnail. It was the best deck in the game. That's what it was. I think it was something like 85% win rate, best deck in the game.
No, that's Priest.
Watch this video now.
Bro, I could do a whole video on how Priest is underestimated right now, man. It's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Priest is like once you get to like top 100 legend, it's all Priest. I heard it's like 90% Priest.
Yeah, and people are telling me it's not good and it's bad at like even mid-range legend, mid-range being like not mid-range deck wise, but like 2,000 to 6,000 legends, somewhere in that range. People are like, Control Priest isn't even that good. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? I'm literally 15-3 with this deck. It beats everything except Ticketus Warlock because and that's what Ticketus was built to counter, right? I don't mind Ticketus beating Control Priest. Like that was what Ticketus was designed to beat, those slow control decks. So, I mean, it's fine. But I've lost like that and 1 paladin that got back-to-back Oh My Yogs on 2 really important turns, and I lost that as well. But that's basically it, man.
Yeah, Priest is crazy. It's more fun to play now too.
Less impressive, less random. I like it. I think it's a better version of Priest than we've had in like a year.
Well, one thing is I'm not just a friend of Ecor. I'm also a fan. So I go to his channel all the time because there's tons of videos there, and I grab a deck code called the Clown Priest, and it is for real. That deck is sick, right? It's
surprisingly good.
We're getting sidetracked though, man.
It to like actually go off.
No, but it's great. It's just so
and
crazy.
You can get like 12 boards of clowns. It's insane. It's so much fun.
And Ecor's like he just so you got to see the video. Anyway, but he's like,
we haven't seen that one. I'm gonna play it again today. I think actually.
Yeah. Here's the goal, guys. Here's the goal, guys. It's you got to use this one mana, discover this dragon, because dragons are always like high mana, and then you reduce their cost. Like it's just a great video. So man, I really enjoyed that one. You got to see it. Everybody. everybody, if you can remember, Ecor, when you publish this one, put the link up to Clown Priest on there, so a card or something. People got to see that one, or at least put it in the description. So your mind is blown, because I think in the demo you do play like Clown like 6 times or 7 times, and you're just like,
true, I do.
I think this deck is for real.
Yeah, I was like, wait, is this deck actually good?
It is good, and it's just because nobody. It's great. Never mind, we're getting sidetracked. Sorry guys, but check it out. So we're gonna.
The last deck I had, I don't have anything specific about it. Is just Ping Mage. I wanted it to be better. At the beginning, I remember we talked about how it needed to be nerfed because like day 1 out of the gate, it had a high win rate, and I was like, wait, this deck is broken. And then it is now the worst performing deck in Diamond to Legend according to Hearthstone Replay. And I was like, well, I really missed the ball on that one. But yeah, I wish this one was just a little bit stronger. I don't know what I would do, but maybe something in the mini set will come out, like one more hero power based card. I just don't want it to be casino random mage anymore, because it's still being played. It's still one of the like top 4 most played decks, no minion mage or something like that, and I don't want to see it anymore. I want to see a deck that isn't entirely based on randomness, and I feel like Ping Mage is similar to like Elemental Shaman. Like you go in, that whole deck is built around a certain synergy, and I feel like that kind of deck is good. Also same with like Mill Warlock, I guess, and I feel like there needs to be more of a reward for it, but I don't know. That's it. Let's jump over to your segment. You have an interesting topic to talk about.
Let's go.
Let's
we'll
go.
get on over there. Let's do it.